Jack and I hardly talked about what we found. The memory of Jabari's grief and anger stayed with us. Even the answers from the police investigation didn't bring peace, it all felt empty. One evening, as I looked out my window into the dark, I thought I saw someone by the edge of the woods, a tall, thin man holding a fishing rod. My heart raced, but when I blinked, he was gone. The creek had revealed some of its secrets, but I couldn't help feeling it still hid more. Maybe Jabari was right, some things are better left alone. Chapter 1: The Creek's Secret. The sun had just risen, casting its golden rays over the quiet creek. The water shimmered like glass, untouched by the world waking up around it. I had been there since dawn, fishing rod in hand, hoping for a peaceful morning. The occasional chirp of birds and the gentle splash of water were my only companions. Yet, instead of finding peace, I found frustration. Hours had passed, and the fishing line remained empty. My patience was wearing thin, and I could feel the heat of the rising sun on my neck. Just as I was about to pack up and leave, the line tugged. Excitement jolted through me, I had caught something at last. Pulling the line in, I expected a fish, but it wasn't a fish but a small leather shoe, soaked and looking incredibly old. It was tiny, the kind a young child might wear, and its presence in the creek felt wrong. My mind raced with questions. Who had lost a child's shoe in a place like this? Across the creek, an old man Jabari stood, his weathered fishing rod dipping into the water. He moved with practiced ease, pulling fish after fish onto his line. Yet, to my surprise, he released every single one. His movements were precise, almost mechanical, and he never once looked at his catch. Something about him gave me an uneasy feeling. The sun began to dip behind the tall trees, casting long shadows over the creek. The Jabari finally reeled in his line and crossed the rickety wooden bridge toward me. "Any luck?" he asked, his voice rough, like stones scraping together. I held up the shoe, feeling a strange urge to show it to him. "Just this," I replied. The moment he saw the shoe, his face changed. His tired expression was replaced by something raw, something haunted. "May I see it?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. Surely, I handed it over. He held the shoe like it was made of glass, his fingers brushing over its worn surface, and he whispered, "You found it." This was his. This was his. He was wearing it he suddenly stopped. Chapter 2: Echoes of a Child. The old man Jabari sat beside me on the creek's edge, cradling the small, tiny dark brown shoe in his lap like it was a priceless treasure. His battered tackle box sat next to him, and from it, he pulled out a few more items, a faded green t-shirt and a pair of tiny shorts. He placed them beside the small, tiny dark brown shoe with great care, as though arranging them on a shrine. Curiosity burned within me, but I hesitated to ask. Finally, I gathered my courage. Who was he? The old man didn't look at me. Instead, his gaze was fixed on the creek, his face unreadable. "A boy," he said after a long pause. "He used to fish here with me, years ago. Now, every time I come here, it feels like he's still around." His words sent a chill down my spine. There was something in his tone, an emptiness that hinted at a deep sorrow. "What happened to him?" I asked quietly. With a voice full of pain, he said, "Some things are better that I have lost." He stood abruptly, brushing dirt off his worn jeans. "Thank you for finding this," he said, nodding toward the small, tiny dark brown shoe. Before I could ask anything else, he walked away, fading into the growing darkness. I sat there, the quiet creek suddenly feeling heavy and uncomfortable. The small, tiny dark brown shoe, the boy, and Jabari's mysterious words filled my head with questions, but there were still no answers. Chapter 3: The Unearthed Skull. The water was still and quiet, the golden light of the sunset turning its surface into a sheet of molten glass. My frustration from earlier had been replaced by unease, but I was determined to leave with something to show for my efforts. As the line sank, I felt a tug, stronger than before. My heart raced. This had to be a fish. Carefully, I reeled it in, but something about the weight felt off. It wasn't the erratic pull of a fish fighting against the hook, it was steady and heavy. When the object broke the surface, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't a fish. It was small, pale, and rounded, and as I pulled it closer, I realized with horror what I had found. A skull. It was tiny, no bigger than a child's fist. Its surface was smooth, beige, and weathered, as though it had been in the water for years. Milk teeth lined the jaw, some loose and others clinging stubbornly to the bone. Beneath them, the faint ridges of adult teeth lay hidden, waiting for a growth that would never come. My hands shook as I pulled it free from the water, wrapping it hastily in my jacket. My mind raced with questions. Whose skull was this? How had it ended up here? And why had I been the one to find it? For a long moment, I simply sat there, the skull wrapped tightly in my jacket, as though hiding it could erase what I had seen. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I knew I couldn't leave it there, but I also didn't know what to do. Finally, I decided to go home. The unease I'd felt earlier had grown into a full-blown dread that clung to me like a second skin. As I made my way to the car, the weight of the skull in my arms felt heavier than it should have, as though it carried not just bone, but the weight of a story I was yet to uncover. Chapter 4: A Warning. The walk back to my car was unnervingly quiet. The forest surrounding the creek, which usually teemed with the sounds of life, was silent. Even the rustling of leaves seemed muted. The air felt dense, pressing against me as I clutched the jacket-wrapped skull. Just as I reached the clearing where my car was parked, I heard the sound of footsteps. They were slow and deliberate, crunching over the gravel path. My heart sank when I saw the jabberi emerge from the shadows. "How big was the fish?" he asked, his tone unevenly casual, as though he hadn't just appeared out of nowhere. I forced a laugh, gripping my jacket tighter. "Not big," I replied, fumbling with my keys. The jabberi's eyes traveled to the bundle in my arms. His gaze was sharp, piercing through me like he could see the skull hidden beneath the fabric. "Catch anything else?" he asked, his voice low and edged with something dangerous. I shook my head, hoping he couldn't see how badly my hands were trembling. "Just weeds," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. For a moment, he said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed on me, unblinking. Then, slowly, he smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile that made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. Without another word, he turned and walked back toward the creek, his figure disappearing into the darkening woods. I stood there for a long moment, my breath coming in shallow gasps. There was something about the way he had looked at me, something that told me he knew exactly what I had found. When I got into my car and locked the doors, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. As I drove away, the bundle on my lap felt heavier than ever, and Jabberi's mysterious smile stayed in my mind. Chapter 5: The Uninvited Guest. By the time I got home, night had fully settled. The streetlights cast faint shadows across the driveway. My hands trembled as I tucked the skull under the passenger seat, unsure of what to do next. Inside, Amaya greeted me with a warm smile, folding laundry on the couch. Her presence grounded me. "How was fishing?" she asked. "Uneventful," I lied, forcing a weak smile. My mind raced, thinking of the skull in the car. Then, the sound of tires on gravel froze me. A rusted red Honda Odyssey pulled into the driveway. The jabberi. A knock followed. Amaya, surprised, got up. "Wait, don't open it," I said, but it was too late. The jabberi stood there, tackle box in hand. "Evening," he said, nodding politely. I'm a friend of your husband's. We met at the creek. Amaya smiled. Oh, nice to meet you. Come in. No, really, it's fine, I began, but the Jabari stepped inside, scanning the room. His gaze landed on my jacket. Picking it up, he unwrapped the bundle. The skull glinted under the dim light. Amaya gasped. What is that? She whispered, stepping back. The Jabari cradled the skull like it was precious. You didn't tell anyone, did you? He asked, his calm voice edged with menace. I shook my head. Good. He nodded and left, taking the skull. Frozen, I faced Amaya's wide, fearful eyes. What is going on? She whispered. I had no answer, only the sinking certainty that the Jabari wasn't done with me yet. Chapter 6: The Search. The next morning, I woke with a sense of dread that lingered. Amaya avoided discussing the skull or Jabari, but the tension was undeniable. I called the police, but the officer sounded skeptical. A child's skull. In the creek. And this man just took it. Yes, I replied, frustrated. He knows something. Investigate. Without evidence, the officer dismissed it, saying, if you find anything else, call us. I hung up, furious. Then, I thought of Jack, an experienced diver. He agreed to meet me at the creek. At the water's edge, Jack dove in. Minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, Jack surfaced, pale and out of breath. What did you find? I asked, rushing to help him. He opened his bag, revealing small, fragile human bones. This is bad, he whispered, trembling. I felt my stomach twist. We need to take this to the police. Before Jack could respond, Jabari appeared at the edge of the creek, his face full of fury. Chapter 7: Who is Jabari? Jabari stood by the creek, his presence thick in the air, his fist clenched tightly. His eyes, full of fury and grief, fixed on the bag of bones Jack held. You should have left it alone, he growled, voice full of warning. We need to investigate this, I said, my voice shaking. Jabari's boots crunched against the gravel as he stepped closer. You don't understand, he spat, desperate. He's at peace now. You're taking that away. Who is he? I asked, summoning courage. What happened? Samuel, my grandson, Jabari said bitterly. This creek was his favorite place. When he passed, it became his resting place. Jack gripped the bag tighter, his face unreadable. This isn't right. You don't understand, Jabari roared. I did what I had to do. Samuel belongs here. What do you mean, did what you had to do? I asked, a chill running through me. Jabari's face twisted with grief. You weren't there, he whispered, voice breaking. I stood firm. We are taking these bones to the police, I said. They'll uncover the truth. Jabari narrowed his eyes but shook his head. Do what you have to do, he muttered, turning away. But don't expect the answers to make sense. Later, we handed the bones to the police. Forensics confirmed they were Samuel's, missing for over 30 years. The truth was darker than we anticipated. Witnesses recalled Jabari arguing with Samuel by the creek. The theory that emerged was horrifying. Jabari, in a fit of rage, had killed his grandson and left his body in the creek, claiming it was where Samuel belonged. The creek, once serene, became a place of horror. But Jabari had disappeared. His old red Honda Odyssey was found abandoned, but no trace of him was ever discovered. Some believed he fled, while others whispered he returned to the creek, meeting the same fate as his grandson. And so, the creek remained silent, carrying the weight of a story too dark to forget.